What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. This is actually the first video I've done in the garage. I'm really excited about it. Funny stories, there's a hurricane going on outside. We're down here in southeastern Texas, I guess South Texas, I don't know. Luckily, we have a new garage where we can do installs. So in this video, we're installing a new radio, head unit, stereo, whatever you want to call it, into the JK. We're doing a radio that's touchscreen, has Apple Carplay, has all those cool features, and it's really, really budget friendly. So let's go ahead, check out the radio and get this video started. So I have a few things to say right off the bat. This is my second time filming this video, and I've learned a lot during this install. For those of you that have never installed a radio on a Jeep JK, it is a little bit different than installing radios on older vehicles. I'm gonna go ahead and say, like, I am not an audio guy by any means. So if you're here looking for like the best sound, you know, how to really amp up your Jeep's sound and audio system, this ain't the video. What we are doing though is just upgrading the radio system or stereo to something a little more modernized. This is not the top of the line radio, but it does come packed with a bunch of features that I wanted. You know, right off the bat, I wanted CarPlay. The JT has CarPlay, has that nice 8.4-inch touchscreen radio, and I've kind of gotten spoiled by it, because my JK had this little factory radio. Now it did work good, but its life has come to an end. It's got wet a bunch. There's dust everywhere. I mean, you can see. But intermittently, all the lights would stop working on it. The aux port really doesn't work. It's kind of a hit or miss. Go over a bump and it would get all staticky. And plus, there's just no touchscreen and no modern features. It's 2020. Let's spice things up, you know what I'm saying? So my big thing was I want something budget friendly. I didn't need top of the line. I didn't want to spend $2,000 on a radio setup, but I did want something a little more modernized. So I went with the Boss Audio Systems, model number BCPA9690RC, but I've already tried to install this and it didn't work. Mostly because I'm used to installing old school radios. I've never messed with a radio on a newer vehicle, and it turns out that you do need extra parts for the install. You can't just buy a radio and a wire harness and call it good. The JKs use a CAN bus system, so we have to get a data link connector, which kind of converts it from digital to non-digital. Picking up what I'm putting down. So that's an extra cost. The little magical digital box, that was around 79 bucks, and depending on what you want, the price can go up. But luckily, this setup that we're doing today is only around 300 bucks, which is not too bad. So let's see what we have in the box. Dun, 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 dun. Surprise, it's already opened. It's not gonna be an unboxing video. And as you can tell, I've already been messing with the wiring harness. So we have a 6.75-inch touchscreen display. Everything we really need is in here. We have the ability to hook up a reverse camera. We have some RCA inputs in the back. We have all that standard radio stuff. 200 bucks, not a bad deal. Now this guy right here is the most important part. This is the PAC Chrysler radio replacement interface. This is what will actually let our radio work with our newer system. Now I'm gonna go ahead and say, let's take this off the stand. I'm gonna go ahead and say that there are some options online. You know, Jeep specific retailers do make radio kits that are already plug and play. They already have all this designed into it, so you can install it yourself, but you're looking at $300, $400, $500 bucks for that. I have less than 300 bucks in this and it's gonna work really, really good. So let's go ahead and talk about what happened the first time I tried to film this video. It was a complete mess. I had bought a installation harness, but I did not actually have the radio replacement interface, and this is what communicates with the CAN bus system. So I installed this, I installed the radio, video was going good, went to turn it on, nothing. So did some digging, and it turns out that you do have to have one of these. Now I'm gonna put a bunch of info in the video description, so you guys, I'm not gonna bore you with this entire install video because most of you know the specifics on how to actually wire up a radio. It's not rocket science. But what we are gonna do is hop in the Jeep, install this, and check out the features of it, and kind of highlight some of the important parts of the install. Now I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what I did. It's really not hard to get access up in here. There's a couple screws get in here. You pop the little push plates out. If you have anything on your dash, you're gonna have to remove it, because we are gonna have to get inside here and remove something on the inside of our dash to fit our bigger radio. So once you're to this point, this is pretty simple, guys. Removing your old radio, blah, 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 you're good to go. Let's go ahead and focus on what we need to do in here. There's two things right off the bat. Once you remove our old radio, you'll notice that our antenna cable has this little connection. We do have to get an adapter for that. I'll leave a link in the video description so you can go grab that. Should have mentioned that earlier. But now that we're here, there is a little metal bracket in here. Actually, let's get some light. There's a metal bracket in there. See those little tabs right there? That's what held our factory radio in. We're gonna have to remove that, cut those tabs so we can fit this bigger double din radio inside this spot. So in order to do that, there are 4 screws, one back there. I don't know if you can see it. And then 2 up top here. So we're gonna have to pull this off, remove those screws, and cut those tabs off before we do anything else. So in order to remove this metal bracket, we of course had to undo those 4 bolts. We had to grab Cassie to help hold the camera.
Hey! And
we had to take out the bolts, 2 right here, and then 1 on the center, so we could push this support piece down. And it is a very, very tight fit coming out of here. You know, of course, this is the older interior, the 07 to 010 interior. So if you have a new interior, it might be a little bit different, but the principles are still the same. Once we get this out, I'm gonna see if it's a structural piece or if it's solely for the purpose of holding the factory radio in place.
If he gets it out.
Yeah, now it's like stuck. We're gonna be cruising around the streets with like this, no radio. All right. Cool.
All right.
So normally this bracket, these 2 I pushed down the last time I tried to install this because I was curious how much room we'd actually need, but normally they'd face up and your factory radio just wedges in there. So the goal is to cut these tabs off because we won't use them anymore since our new radio is a little bit deeper. But I'm curious if we can just ditch this completely. I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna try running it without it. So if for some reason this is mandatory, I'll go down in the comments at a later date and say, hey, make sure to put this back in. But for now, we're running without it. And if my dash falls apart, I'll let you guys know. Because if we don't have to reinstall this, it makes it so much easier. So somebody has to be a guinea pig, I'll try it. Now, before we actually start wiring up the harnesses for our radios, we have to figure out if our Jeep has the premium audio package. An easy way to tell if your Jeep has the factory, you know, high output amplifier and premium audio is to look at our plug. Ignore this little one, that's the Sirius XM package. So right off the bat, if you have this second connector, you probably have the premium audio. But you can look at your connector and see how many wires you have. So see this whole bottom row that's missing? We only have 4 outputs right there. That means we have the factory amp. So those 4 go to the amp, and then the amp sends it to all of our other speakers here in the dash and back there. So now that we know that, I mean, you can also look it up on your VIN, do a VIN search. But now that we know that, it means we have to kind of mess or do this wiring a little bit different. So like I mentioned, our radio did come with a wiring harness. The wiring harness that we need for our Jeep is something like this pack radio interface. So we have the little interface module here and then the Jeep specific plugs. What we have here is my assortment of wiring to figure out how we needed to do this. Now, if you have the factory amplifier, the instructions in our pack tell us exactly how to do it right here. Vehicles with a factory amplifier. So the amplifier only accepts 2 audio channels, left and right. The amplifier's fading is controlled by data communication from the factory radio. So what this means is that if we're installing an aftermarket head unit into a Jeep that has a factory amplifier, we're gonna lose our fade function, meaning you can't, you know, adjust front to back speaker output. You can't mute the back and put them all in the front, vice versa. You can't do that. So that is one downside to putting, you know, an aftermarket radio into your Jeep that has the factory, you know, premium sound system. To me, it's not a big deal. I'm willing to do that because I honestly, like, how many times do we use that? Not much.
Times a year. So,
yeah. And that's usually when the kids are in the Jeep.
And they're watching a movie.
And they're watching a movie and we don't want to hear it. But they're not watching movies in this much at all. So what we're gonna do is connect the front outputs of this radio. So the front outputs, left, right, positive, negative, to the rear inputs of this, which goes to our Jeep. So that means the rear speaker outputs on this are just gonna get cut and capped. We are not gonna use them. So it definitely does make it a little more easy. And then we have, of course, our wire connection chart here. So all the different colors, which you can go ahead and read. We're gonna cross out all of those rear speaker inputs because we're not using those. And then our interface connector, which is this guy, all these little wires, that is what those are. So here you go. I'll let you guys look at this in case you do need it. But our next step is to make all of these connections. What I like to do is just, you know, strip them back, connect them, put some shrink wrap over there, put the radio in the Jeep, make sure it works. And if all your wiring is good, everything works, we can come back, solder all of these connections and call it good. So I've already tested this, it does work. I'm gonna solder the connections, put it in hyperspeed mode, and then get this installed on the Jeep. Now let's slow it down a little bit. If you've never made a solder connection, I'm gonna show you how real quick. We got Cassie right here. Now what we're gonna need is a soldering kit. So soldering iron and the actual solder. You can get this, you know, you can get kits dirt cheap on Amazon. I'll throw a link in the video description. But first we're gonna go ahead and find the 2 wires that we want to connect. Now before we actually connect them, what do we need to put on there? Shrink wrap. I don't know how many times that's happened to me and I almost set Cassie up for failure. Because once we make this connection, you can't shrink wrap it. You could just put electrical tape, but I'm a little bigger fan of using shrink wrap.
Which one?
Oh, this one.
This one?
Yeah. All right, so you're gonna put shrink wrap on one side of them.
Does it matter?
Nope. Now this specific connection we're making is for the accessory turn on. A lot of people, when they do aftermarket radios, they'll tap this red turn on switch to their 12-volt outlet, but in this case, with this connector, it uses the CAN bus system, so we don't have to tap into anything.
So what's my first step?
You're gonna cross them.
Cross them.
And wrap each wire around the other one. There we go. So, move your fingers. I'll see if I can zoom in.
Push it. Now if this one doesn't work, I'm blaming Ben, he taught me.
I don't even know if it's focusing. There we go, so they just wrap around each other. Now, a lot of people would just call it quits there, shrink wrap and call it good, but we are going to solder it.
All right, so how do I solder?
So, you're gonna put the soldering iron underneath it.
Underneath it, being sure to keep away
right
from
in the
all
middle
other
there.
ones.
And you're gonna have to put a little pressure on it, so don't hit the, all right. Now while you do that, you're gonna grab your solder.
Okay.
And once this starts to heat up, you're gonna melt the solder onto the wire itself.
Ooh.
Yep, there you go, and just kind of hold it there for a minute on the wires. Once it starts melting, right in the middle there, just hold it there.
Hold it?
Yep.
Oh, I'm like moving it around.
There you go, and then take it off. You'll see it start steaming up and all that solder will melt into that little splice that we made.
Oh,
so
cool.
Our solder is done. We're gonna move our heat shrink over to the side or right in the middle of it.
Okay.
And then grab your wife's hair dryer and heat shrink it up.
Oh, you want my hand back here?
So while she's finishing up this last connection, I'm gonna go ahead and talk one more time about what wires we're actually hooking up. So we have our wiring harness, the pack wiring harness. This is the model I went with, C2RCHY4. This is for the Jeeps that do not have the steering wheel controls. If you do have the steering wheel controls, you can buy this kit and add on the steering wheel interface, or you can buy the harness from Pack that comes. You don't even know how to operate. She doesn't even know how to operate her own hair dryer. You can also buy the kit that comes with all of this plus the steering wheel interface, which is, it's really, you know, if you have that, go that route, and it's not too hard to figure out. But we have our wiring connection chart for this. But how do we know what our head unit uses? Most head units are going to come with a wire diagram that tells you what is what. Here we go. So we have everything we need here. Microphone input, SWC input, that stands for steering wheel control, orange illumination, red accessory, black ground, yellow constant, reverse signal input, antenna output, and remote output. Over here we have all of our colors for our radio, and then over here interface connector, parking brake output, vehicle speed output, we're not going to use that, amp turn on input, that is important, which is also going to go to the blue on that one. Orange and white's illumination, we found illumination over there. Reverse output, I don't think we're gonna do reverse output. Yeah, maybe we will, I don't know yet. So we're gonna make all these connections, still have a few more to go. Once this is done, we're gonna put it in the Jeep. I have everything done. Before we call this good, I'm gonna go ahead and just show you guys what connections are what in case you do decide to go with this radio and this pack interface controller. So we have red to red, green to purple and white. white to green, white and black to green and black, orange to orange and white, black to black, yellow to yellow, white and or no, gray and black to purple and black, gray to purple, blue and white to blue and white, and light green to red and white. Now, that's my setup. It's gonna vary depending on your Jeep, and it's not too hard to figure out as long as you have the interface controller and your radio diagram. Now, what we have here is the connection for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. We are going to have to get a USB extension to run behind our dash so we can plug our phone in to work with the Apple CarPlay. So got this on Amazon as well. I'm gonna put all the links and all of this in the video description. Now at this point, let me show you the antenna cable adapter. Had to get that on Amazon as well. At this point, we're good to go ahead and put our radio in there, plug everything up, test all the functions, make sure everything works, and then work on mounting the radio. Now, in regards to mounting the radio, once again, had to buy something else. So as you guys can see, there's a lot of little things you have to buy, but I'm put all of it in the video description. That way you can buy it all at once, you'll be good to go. Got this little Metra mounting kit. So it comes with this, which we are not gonna use. It's kind of cute, isn't it? But the main thing we need are these mounting side pieces and these little covers, which you'll see later. The mounting hardware that comes with the radio is not gonna work. It's just kind of a universal mount, whereas these are Jeep specific double DIN radio mounts. So let's go test everything out and see what it actually looks like in the Jeep. Yeah, this is the hard part, is trying to figure out how in the world we're gonna stuff all of that crap in because there's like a million wires now. But before we do anything, moment of truth.
All right, let's see it.
Check your cable connections and make sure your camera is connected and powered on. Does it think I'm in reverse or something? All right, so I made a connection this time that I didn't last time, because right now I think for some reason it thinks that the rear view camera has power. So in this harness,
We don't have a rear view camera.
exactly.
Oh.
So
Exactly,
one of
that's
these was for the reverse camera. Let me go see, we'll cut that, see what happens. Reverse input. I'm going to cut this one. There we go. So,
Haha! Success.
we are not gonna use that. What did I say that was, reverse input?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we have everything here. Let's make sure. All right, so radio stations work. That is going to get annoying. All right, FM, and go home. We have our Bluetooth. All right, first things first, we're gonna have to go to settings and freaking
Turn off the
turn
click
off
sound.
that click sound. Audio,
I don't even know if you can see this. It's trying to like focus.
system tone. All right, turn that off. Boom, here we go. So at this point, we know everything works. We have a bunch of static noise. YouTube won't let me play music from the radio. Copyright issues. But at this point, we know everything turns on. It looks like all the functions are there. We have sound. Touchscreen works. We are good to go. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our mounting brackets and mount the radio in here. Try to hide all those wires, stuff them in as good as we can, and get this all covered back up.
All right, seeing yours in here really wants me, God, what am I saying? It really wants,
You want one in the LJ?
yes, I want to go ahead and put the one we have in the, I'll be like, now I really want to do it.
Yeah, this
That was really
this
bad.
actually looks really nice, but and these colors on the side here are changing. I think there's probably a
Ooh.
feature in there we can turn that off.
You
Go
should
to
leave
one
it on.
solid cut. It's like a party.
Red?
It's a little party. Blue, red or blue. All right, let's wrap this up. We just stuffed everything up in there, all the wires kind of tucked to the side. But if you can see up here, up top, has two little plastic tabs, which we're gonna have to trim because right now it's pushing it up. But other than that, it fits in here pretty good.
Whoa.
All right.
So glad I got that.
I gotta hold them somewhere, otherwise I'm gonna lose them. So with these little side pieces, this is also what we're gonna use to mount right here. It's gonna attach to the Jeep and the radio and kind of cover that gap.
I know it's hard to get the right angle in here. To
Yeah,
show
it's
them.
hard to see. This entire install's been like kind of hard to show.
It's like we need a mini GoPro so we can get into all the little spots with like a flashlight mounted over it.
All right, screwdriver.
Screwdriver.
All right, guys, you get the point of this.
You get the point. We're gonna put this together.
Yeah. All right, guys, so we're back with another issue. Putting everything back on and put this top piece on, not this, not the Vector eDock, but this top piece right here, and it won't sit down flush because we have this little compass display module under here. So that little guy is taking up too much room and hitting the radio. So for now, I'm probably just gonna ditch it. We could reroute it somewhere, but I'm unsure of how well it'll be calibrated if we reroute it. So we're gonna pop the radio back out and remove this compass display from the Jeep. So I'm not sure if there's a workaround on that for those of you that have done doubled in installs. If you've done anything with this and it remained accurate, let me know in the comments, please. Hey guys, it is all wired up. Let's go ahead and play some music. Change any of the speakers or any of that stuff, but it sounds so much better. Like there's so much better. We have Carplay. Now, one issue that we just figured out messing around with this earlier. I forgot.
Tell the people what you forgot.
I forgot to put the mic in the back. So for, oh, it's gonna get a bunch of bad feedback. On these radios, oh, we don't need that hype music right now. I forgot to wire in, or not wire in, but plug in the mic input for the radio. The radio comes with a mic, and I was like, I don't need a mic. But yeah, you need a mic for Apple CarPlay. Because it's not using your phone, it's all going through the radio. So both her voice and for the person who's in the Jeep, like me. So we're gonna have to remove all of this, put the mic in there. Let me go show you the mic. It's very simple, and I should have thought about this, but here it is. Plugs right into the back of the radio, and you route this to put your mic somewhere up on the dash so you can use CarPlay. We're never gonna be done. This is gonna be a 45-minute video on how to hook up a radio, but it's nice so far. I think my install videos are gonna become very long because the garage is a very comfortable environment.
It is.
So like I'm in no rush to finish this video. It's just like a nice project. But yeah, it turned out really, really good. And we'll be back for the 8th time. All right guys, so I know this wasn't the most interesting install video that I've done in a while, but my main goal was to help a few people out. I've been getting a lot of questions about radio setups, stereo setups, and what I recommend. And honestly, before this, I had no idea, but I can safely say that this radio setup is the bomb.com.
It's pretty.
I mean, it's not the top of the line, but it's very budget friendly, and it turned out really cool. So I guess we'll go through the features one more time, show you guys what's going on. So we already got the key on, awesome. We have all this stuff. We have Apple CarPlay whenever our phone is hooked up. We now have Bluetooth. We have a CD player. We actually have a backup camera as well. Cassie, you wanna go model it?
Hey guys!
So it's not, yeah, it's like, that is awesome. Now for the backup camera, this radio that I bought, this specific model, came with the wire that runs all the way to the back, and then just like a universal like camera kit. And I just hooked it onto my tailgate delete. Really easy to install. I didn't really want to make this video any longer than it already was, but all we have to do is turn, press that camera button and then to exit out right there. I didn't tie it into the reverse just because when we're going wheeling, every time I pop it into reverse, I don't want the camera coming on and off. This way I can completely control it. The finish on this is really nice. It looks really, really good. There's no crazy gaps. It's a very clean install. We're at 2% GoPro battery life. So
he's gonna wrap it up soon. But I think that's, that I'm very thankful he did this project because I've been begging him to do it, I think for like 5+ years. On road trips, it's nice because we do take this to and from the trails. We do not trailer it. So having Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth, it's nice. The speakers, it's worth the upgrade.
It's such it's a nice upgrade. I wish I had my phone with me so I could plug it in, but you guys already know what Apple CarPlay looks like. And you know, I think this setup is definitely better than some of the other ones. I know back in the day, a lot of YouTube channels were doing like Amazon or eBay radio installs, and they were like $100 for the radio or something, and it turned out a lot of people had issues. Now I know Boss isn't the very top of the line radio, but it's a pretty big company, they're pretty reputable, and I think this is gonna hold up over time. We will see, you know, see how weatherproof it is and all that stuff, but overall this has been a very, very cool upgrade. Like always guys, thanks for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what radio setup you are running. Now the next thing in regards to audio that I might do is speaker upgrades. So if you guys have any recommendations for some really, really cool speakers, let me know in the comments. And until the next video guys, thanks for watching. Cassie, what are you doing on your LJ soon?
A lot of things. What are we narrowing it down?
Maybe in regards to something that we just installed on this one.
Oh, am I doing a double DIN install?
I think on Cassie's channel, Jeep Gear and Gadgets, we might show you how to do a double DIN radio install on an LJ. TJ, LJ, same thing. That's going to be pretty cool.
Coming up next.
So thanks for watching guys. I will see you guys later. Peace. Turn around, say, turn it around. Say, this is how you install radio.
Hi.
Say, radio installed. Say radio installed.